This guitar mostly makes me sad.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Welcome to Vintera II launch day. This thing is amazing and we need to talk about it. We need to talk about Fender. This is the brand new Vintera II 60s Telecaster in Fiesta Red. I love this guitar. Fender sent me this guitar. They are sponsoring this video. They're paying for my time. They're not paying for my opinion. But in this video, I want to talk about how this guitar mostly makes me sad.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
But it also makes me super happy, and all Fenders have just all leveled up. They have all punched the box like Mario up above them, and they've become incredible. This guitar is remarkable. This is the brand new Vintera II, and it is a little sharper, a little more precise, a little more accurate than the old Vinteras. The Vinteras always had this kind of funny level of what if. They were like, they're vintage, they're right, they kind of look like the old part. But man, okay, so this guitar, the biggest upgrade from the Vintera 1 to the Vintera 2 is that they're back to rosewood boards. And for some people, that was a huge deal. They couldn't get around Palfaro. It never bothered me that much, but I do really like the look of this rosewood. It looks proper and old. The only things I don't like about this guitar, the tuners they're just not quite the same as the originals. And these buttons are a little sharp on the edges, and they look just the tiniest bit not right compared to original Clousons or original tuners of the era. Things that they did nail. There's no skunk stripe on the back of the neck, which is a really cool specky feature. And that's what kind of culminates in this guitar making me feel sad. This guitar in particular, exactly like this, except Sonic Blue, which is actually available in this range. I spent so much money. I spent about $1,200 building out a parts caster in the mid-2000s because Fender did not make a thing like this that wasn't in the custom shop or in the American Vintage line. And I could not afford those guitars. And I spent so much money on a parts caster that parts casters can be great, but if you are not good at the final setup, they will never be as good as an actual thing, as an actual Fender. And so when I see these guitars, they make me sad. They make me sad because this is so much guitar for the money. Make this guitar exceptional. The neck is incredibly comfortable. I like the dark rosewood board. I love the slab board. I love the maple. I love the logo. I love the aging. It feels right and it looks right and it sounds right. One thing that is always funny to me is that in the marketing, Fender's like, oh, we did a whole new 60s voicing of Telecaster pickups. Like, we finally got it. which it is funny, you know, if you've been around guitar stuff, you know, like, that's what they said about the 90s American Strats. That's what they said about Highway 1s. That's what they said about the Player series. That's what they said about the old Mexican 60s and Mexican 50s Strats. And it's always just been funny to me that they're like, no, we really got it this time because they need us to buy new ones. But it is twangy and clean and spanky, has a jangly thing to it. It does the 60s tones with it. The one thing... There are two aesthetic things. I mentioned the tuners. The other one is this bridge. If you can look at this bridge up close, see how it has this like dimpling into the chrome behind it, and then it's shiny up front. I don't understand that. I don't like that. It's just different. And I've looked at old Teles that I have around the shop, that I have around my studio, and it's just not like, okay, here's one. It's not on there, but it's an old Fender bridge, and it doesn't have that dimpling. So I don't know. It's a weird detail. I don't know why it is. The tone, I like it. It's a bit boring just as a guitar into an amp. The pickups are pretty low output, which I like. I would prefer to... You can always add more gain. You can't take gain away. And so for me, I prefer when I get like tons of headroom, tons of clean. And that's what this guitar does feel like. It has this kind of fun, jangly, high headroom thing. Downside, they don't come with a hard case. For that much money, I cannot, and I understand that Mexican Teles and Strats have never come with hard cases, but for that much money, I just think that they could throw in a case. Over the last 20 or 30 years, every tier of Fender is now as good as the tier that used to be above it. The Squier Affinity Series is now as good as the Mexican Standards, maybe even better. They are so good for $200 to $300. They are absolutely remarkable. The Classic Vibe are now as good as the 50s and 60s reissues that came out from Fender in the 90s and 2000s. The Player Strats now are as good as the 90s Americans. That's the biggest shift. You're like, get a Player that's made in Mexico, and it is as good or better than a 90s American Standard. Then you start looking at the American Pro 2 now is a remarkable guitar. I still have mine from a couple years ago that came out in the launch. Better than the 90s Strat Deluxes. It's cool, has more features, has the push. I mean, the trim is amazing. This guitar is better than all of the Deluxes and the super fancy Strats of the 90s. Now you look at the new American Vintage 2, it is as good as the Custom Shop was in the 90s. And that means that the Custom Shop, let me show you, I have a Custom Shop here. This is a recent Custom Shop Jazzmaster. And this is better than anything Fender has made ever. Like, it's better than the originals. It's better than the old Custom Shops. I mean, we're in the best moment for Fender. So all of that. The Vintera, this is how I'll end this video. The Vintera II is freaking remarkable. That guitar is as good in my mind as the American Vintage series from the 90s. And those were so expensive, and they are still very expensive. So that's a remarkable amount of guitar. And it's also at a price point that you would not be that upset. And it has just moved up to where everything is so good. I love my American Pro 2 Strat. I still play that thing all the time. And this one has been around for over a year. This is a Custom Shop. This is a Journeyman 1959 Jazzmaster. It is unbelievably clean and tidy and wonderful, and it sounds great. I haven't had it on the channel that much, but I hope you believe me when I tell you that every single Fender has leveled up, and it's a great time to consider getting a Fender. Now, if if you want one of those, if you want to buy a Fender, I think it's a great time too. There will be links in the description down below. Those are affiliate links from Sweetwater. That will be for the Vintera II, just like mine, and in the other colors that I like. I'll put my American Pro 2 in there, and I'll see what kind of spicy, ridiculous, wonderful things I can find. Actually, this is for sale on the Sweetwater Gear Exchange, so check that out. Yeah, I hope you believe me that every Fender is now better than the series that was above it 10, 15 years ago. Thanks for watching this video. I'm Jeremy. This is Guitar Hunter. Go fill the world with music and friendship.